Hi guys, and welcome back to the Ground Pounder series. Okay, we're talking about specific pieces of gear. We've talked about rucksacks, we talked about tarps. We're going to get to other things, but someone asked me to go ahead and jump to this because they want to kind of go ahead and make a purchase. And that was a pocket knife. What would be something I would recommend in the Ground Pounder series? Is there a surplus pocket knife or something? So let's look at that for a minute about surplus knives. Now the vast majority of the stuff you're going to find is going to be military surplus, fighting knives and things like that. And this is a Glock knife. It has serrations on the back, long thin blade like an M3 bayonet. It's meant to be a fighting knife. It can be utilized, of course, as a general purpose knife and etc. And as the military knives go, this is not a bad knife. But understand, this is not a bushcraft knife. It was meant to be a knife for general purpose cutting, fighting, and also for breaking bands and stuff on sling loads and cutting straps and stuff like that in military applications. Cutting, wrapping, shipping, things like that. To get into things. Cut straps off of people to get them untangled whenever they're all tangled up in, you know, after things go boom and you get thrown around. Things like that. That's what this was for. But this is not a bushcraft knife. Woodcraft, bushcraft is more of a specialized. And so, although these are highly motivated, now I'm not going to tell you not to get one. I carried a K-bar for many, many years. Okay? But understand the weaknesses of the knife and what's the strength and what the weaknesses of the given knife you're getting. Okay? And so, like I said, this Glock, real popular. You can get them both as original and as surplus. You can also get the K-bar, still manufactured everywhere. A lot of people want to try it. And I believe everybody should try a design. You know, see what they like. And these Glocks are decent knives. This one's given to me by Mr. Walker, by the way. Thank you, sir. But for a pocket knife, you got a couple of choices out there. And got my little Weehawk bag. Let's start with one that is a surplus that has some uses, and this is a British type jackknife. Okay, these were used in World War II and etc. You still see them popping up on eBay and stuff like that. A lot of times it's where military stores overseas have come back into the country and they're selling them as surplus. But this has got a screwdriver tip on that side. You notice something seems to be kind of missing here. There's this notch. There's also the exact same knife, but it's got a big marlin spike on it for the sailor's knife. So this was the soldier's jackknife, and that was the sailor's marlin spike. It's got a great big, by our standards, odd shaped blade. That's a can opener. It does have a good 90-degree spine on it, so you could shave with it as far as shaving down wood and stuff like that and use it for a fire striker. Yeah, that would work. This can opener is an antique design. Doesn't work that well on our modern stuff. Okay? Got a good spring on it. Boy, does it have a spring. And then the big sheepfoot blade on it. Now I picked this one up quite a few years ago. I think it's like 20 bucks. Something like that. You're going to see these from time to time. I do not recommend this as your pocket knife. Yes, it's surplus. Yes, all of the above. But I do not recommend this one. Great for collecting, playing with it. The blade is awkward for doing what we're going to be doing as far as bushcraft, woodcraft type preparations. And it's just an antique design. Okay? The U.S. Army style of military issue pocket knife. Now all this is the military rendition of a Boy Scout pocket knife. Basically the same thing, it's just all metal and it's got a big loop on it to go into the bail of a mess kit. So you could sterilize them in all hot water at the same time, using it for eating, cooking up meat and stuff. The plain old Boy Scout pocket knife is a good pocket knife for woodcraft, bushcraft. It's got a main blade, it's got a can opener, and it's got a bottle opener, screwdriver, and it's got an awl on it. Awls are very useful. The military surplus one, and you don't have to get this strictly military surplus, this one is still available. This one's being made by Marbles, and you can get it from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. It comes with a good awl, can opener, bottle opener, screwdriver, and main blade. Now that nice rounded spear type point main blade is good for making divot sets and stuff, for bow drills, stuff like that. It's small and compact enough you can use it for doing your work and stuff like that. So it does a good job, but there's a little thing about these that nobody talks about. Same thing with that Boy Scout knife. The blades are crooked. See how it twists? When you look at it from the back, see how the blade is bent like that. It's so it lines down in here. Same thing with the Boy Scout knife. That blade is actually crooked in there. And isn't this knife? That's the design. It's kind of bent and twisted just a little bit to make it drop in between that stuff. Why they just didn't make this straight and make that screwdriver go to the other side, I don't know. But that's the way they did it. It's not that big a deal for a right-handed person utilizing it, but if you're left-handed and trying to use one of these, it's always going to seem like it's awkward because of the twist to the blade. So for left-handed people, this may not be your best choice for that. Along that line, I carry my Victorinox Fieldmaster, and it has a good saw on it, as well as main blade, small blade, scissors. It's got screwdriver, can opener. I already said the small blade. It's got a sewing awl. It's got a package type hook, which is great for us to hook on the bank line and help pull it tight when we're doing wraps and stuff for lashing. And then it's also got a screwdriver. It's got a toothpick, it's got a writing pen, and it's got a pair of tweezers. That's the Victorinox Fieldmaster. That's mine. That's one I've carried for 15, 18 years now. So it's not a surplus knife, but it's the update of what those Boy Scout and military one is. Again, sometimes whenever we're talking about gear, there isn't a really good surplus choice. Simply because of the fact that there's a modern knife that does a better job, cheaper price, whatever. Okay? Some military knives are going to be collector's items, like that one right there, that British one I showed you at the beginning. Collectors want to pay a premium price for stuff like that to go in their collections or reenactors. So if you think, hey, those are running like 60, 70 bucks a piece, it must be a really good knife. It may be a collector knife in surplus, not truly a good knife for what your application is going to be. Okay? And like I said, the Boy Scout knife, good knives to use. The military is basically the version of it. Military surplus of these, or current production one, is basically the same knife, just all metal. All metal has some advantages. The grip on this is a little bit better. Now, a modern knife that copies a surplus knife. This is a Rough Rider. You can get these from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. And this one is a locking electrician's knife. So you got the notch right here, and you got this edge piece right here, and you got a screwdriver tip up here. What this is for stripping insulation and cutting insulation and stuff like that on a piece of wire. But it works good also for scraping and stuff in our bushcraft jobs as well. This notch does really good for stripping off bark and stuff like that on round stuff, etc. It's got a locking blade for that one that you push in and it tips back down. And then on the other side, you have a straight spear point, much like the Boy Scout and etc. But it's a straight blade. It isn't twisted. So this will work well for left or right-handed. and it's got a lanyard on it, which is an advantage because it means I can hook something to this to attach it to me and not lose it out of my pocket, like the lanyards I've talked about in my previous videos. I carry mine on it where I put this in my pocket, I slide this square knot I created up under my belt and then let it flip over, so the knife just hangs there. So I hook this, pull it up and out at one time, one motion. And when I want to put the knife back, I drop this back into my pocket and then slide this under my belt to drop over. You'll never lose your knife that way. And so that lanyard up there can be a distinct advantage for us in utilizing a pocket knife for this. Now, finally, there are also lock backs that are available, like the old Buck 110 you've seen me use oodles of times. This is a collectible knife now, but it has a really good saw in it. Big, good, toothy saw. This knife was gifted to me, and then after I got it, I found out how expensive this knife has become because they're not made anymore. That's an old timer, and it's got that big saw on it, and it's got a good blade on the other side. And it's a locking saw, by the way. Kind of like that electrician, but it's the saw locks, because you're going back and forth and you want that saw blade not to fall on your hand. This is just a good point, does a good job. Fairly thin blade, so we can get down in there for precision cuts and stuff, doing a trap or whatever. And it's a very fine tip, so we can choke up on the blade and use just the tip. Okay? And it comes in a belt sheath. There's a lot of variations of this type of design. A pocket knife with the saw on it, it's a good piece of steel, can work very well. So finally, we come to the knife that Blackie recommends for a military surplus knife that is available now, both in the modern inclination of it, and you can still find them as surplus from time to time. And that is a German Bundeswehr, German Army pocket knife. Okay. One, it has a metal. Now, most of them are either green or black, and this, when I looked up before I did this video to make sure it is available. These are available on Amazon for under 20 bucks a piece. Okay, Mil-Tec, M-I-L-T-E-C, I believe it is. Just a second, I'll look. Yeah, Mil-Tec German Army knife. Okay, one, it's got a nice long thin blade, but it's got good heat treat. There's a pretty good spine on that thing, so it doesn't flex easy. You got a good full-size handle, even bigger than those over there, so it fills the hand better, and I can get a better grip for doing working with it. Two, it's very knurled, so the hand grips it well and it doesn't slide easy in the hand. And then your second blade you've got is a multi-purpose blade. What it has, it's got this little guard on it, which of course I'd lose in a heartbeat. Let me get it off there. Little sheet metal guard. It's got a good aggressive saw on it right there. This is a bottle opener. That's a screwdriver. And then on this side, it's got a nail file put in there. It tells you it's been hardened. Okay, makes this a good hard blade. And then it's got a good 90-degree spine on the back of it, so I can shave down wood pretty easy with it. Okay, so for fire starting, this would be a pretty handy little pocket knife, because one, I've got something I can saw off hunks of fat wood or whatever with, or make shavings out of. I've got a 90-degree spine back here that I can bear down and do like that. I've got that 90-degree spine runs the full length, so I put my thumb up here and use the back of the hook as my flint striker for my ferrocerium rod. I've got a little bitty screwdriver right there I can take some stuff out with, and I got a bottle opener. Okay, this little bitty spring clip or whatever, probably not going to hang around, but it goes on from either direction and clips on to protect that blade, so that if you're having to choke up here and do this for some reason, I don't know why you'd have to choke up to open a bottle. I guess they didn't want you to go back here at the back. They wanted half-drunk Germans, I guess, to pop another Steiner or something like that. I don't know. It also has, on the other side of it, it has a corkscrew. Now this has more options than you think. The corkscrew can be used to take a cork out, of course. It can also allow me to screw this into a piece of wood, like a long stick, and allow me to have my knife blade out or my saw blade out, screw this into a stick, and it's got a lanyard hole, see? I could then tie it to a stick and have a long pole to reach up there and cut a limb with it. If I need a piece from up there, that fork up there, that whatever, and what I'm wanting to do. It allows me to screw this onto something and have a pretty good bite on it, so I can use it as a spear or other kind of weapon. Actually, what I want to use is for a saw, to be able to reach up there and cut that piece out, cut that vine, cut whatever, see, with reach. So that makes it an advantage. Also, it has a really good thin awl in a T-handle configuration, so I can push through heavy straps. If my strap breaks, I can poke a hole with this and use my repair kit to be able to sew it up to get me back to the field. If something breaks off or whatever, I've got an ability to pierce thick, heavy webbing and stuff like that and then sew it. I carry a needle and thread, but this makes life so much easier because I can't pierce through it, see, with that needle very easily. But with this, and they're all on my Swiss Army knife, with this, if the only one I had, I could easily pierce through there and make a series of holes to take my needle and thread and lace it together and get it to hold till I get home where I can properly repair it. Again, I got that little eagle-like symbol right there, two-headed clawed eagle, whatever, on it, and this was a German Swiss Army pocket knife. Now, no, these are not made by the CRV, WLMRP, MICKMOUSE, whatever, Voodoo steel. It's just 440 stainless with a good heat treat on it, and then that coating on it. 440 steel got a bad reputation back in the 70s because they were coming in so cheap from overseas and they didn't have a good heat treat on them. 440C is a good knife steel as long as it's properly heat treated. And that's the reason that this knife is only going to cost you less than $20 for a pocket knife. Because if you want CRV and all them voodoo steels out there, you're paying a premium because you're buying a piece of steel. And I fully encourage you to do that once you get the skills where you can justify such a cost. And then definitely put a lanyard on that sucker, because I don't want you to lose such an expensive piece of gear. The steel on the knife, this steel is more than adequate for the general purpose uses that you're going to be doing for field craft, of cutting string, cutting up a little bit of lunch, doing a little bit of whittling, cutting some figure 4 traps, things like that. The steel on here will handle it just fine. Easy to maintain in the field, and the price on this is less than 20 bucks. So if I lose it, I'm out 20 bucks. I'm not out $250. I'm sure that Voodoo steel one will be infinitely better. But can you justify the cost, especially in today's economy? You know? Get a good rock solid set of gear, then upgrade. I didn't get my custom made William Collins knives. I used military surplus knife, I used an old butcher knife, I used whatever knife I could afford as my primary knife, and I upgraded it when I had the time and I had the stuff by establishing your gear selection of a rock solid, using the surplus whenever possible to keep your costs down, to get good bulletproof gear that I can use. Then, over time, over experience, your own abilities, you'll want to change a little bit where I'd like a little bit better knife. You've got your gear, you can afford now to save up a little to get a fancier pocket knife, or a fancier tarp, or a fancier tent, or whatever. And when you do, take Blackie's advice. Find somebody else coming up behind you that ain't got the money yet, and pass on that good piece of gear that you're not going to use anymore. Pass it on to them, horse trade with them, something like that. That's the way we pull each other up. That's the way the community needs to function. And so, I say again, military surplus knives are available in pocket knives. But, you know, for my money, if you and I were together right now and I didn't know a thing about you, and we were going to be meeting and spending a week in the woods working on pocket knife bushcraft, me not knowing your skill set or ability, the pocket knife I'd hand you if I had to pay for it to start would be this knife. Because learning the knife is going to require some learning curves. And if you're going to screw something up, if you're going to break something, if you're going to try to baton a knife until you see how it breaks, how easily it breaks, I'd rather do it on a $20 knife than a $200. I really would. I would have no problem carrying this pocket knife as my predominant pocket knife for a year. Even though I love my Victorinox, I would substitute this and carry this for a year. Because with my skill level and ability and knowing how well it holds an edge, this would be okay. Would it be the greatest? No. But it'd be more than adequate. And that's what we're going for. Hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. If you have, please hit that like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And if you've got a favorite kind of pocket knife, throw it down there in the description for me. Let me hear what you like. Especially if there's something surplus out there that Blackie don't know about. I'd really appreciate it. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.